There is no such thing as a loser who wakes up at 5 a.m. and works out. It is so hard to do. You are rewiring your brain to remind yourself that you are capable of literally anything. If I can do this hard thing every single day that I don't want to do, I can go and accomplish anything. If you do that for 30 days, you will wake up a completely different human.
Hey, Heal Squad, welcome back to part two of my conversation with author and entrepreneur Sahil Bloom. Make sure you guys check out part one if you haven't already, where we talked about the one question we need to ask ourselves always to spark growth, opening up about life's natural cycles and the importance of keeping your tribe close. Right now, Sahil is giving us the step-by-step process to develop a clear sense of energy flow, the easiest way to improve our social and physical health, and overcoming the fear of building your dream life. All right, let's get back into it. So, Sahil, in the first part, you were talking about those kind of for early years of just pursuing the normal version of success that everybody wants, and how hard that was even on your relationship. How did you guys weather that, those first, was it 2 years, to get to a better place when you guys did move? Because it sounds like you were really busy and you weren't
Yeah.
really able to be around as much as you probably wanted to be.
Yeah, it was a weird time. So this was 2020, 2021, which, as you know, was a very weird time in the world. We were, for the most part, locked down at home. Um, we were living in California at the time, which was very locked down. So there was a lot of being stuck at home and not having a social life outside of there. So there was a sort of a trapped sensation to some extent, which for anyone out there that's ever experienced challenges with conception, with fertility, um, one of the worst parts of that experience is the monthly
Hmm.
pressure and stress that you build, where you build up this one monthly event, and then there's this letdown, and then there's this incredible feeling of dread and pain that you experience on a monthly basis over and over and over again. And being stuck at home during that and not having these outlets of other relationships and other people and ways to sort of express that and be vulnerable about that was really challenging. And it also is just a thing that too many people suffer with in silence. I mean, I just to say to you, like my wife and I felt extreme gratitude for you sharing your story around this journey, because my belief is that as more and more people feel able to share their journeys, the people out there that are experiencing this and suffering with these things in silence will realize that they are not alone and feel empowered to open up to people around them about it. And incredible things happen when you do, because it reduces your own feeling of strain that you've built up. And I think in many ways that allows you to open up to the world and hopefully come to a beautiful ending on that journey that you're having. Um, so it was tough. I mean, I don't have a good solution for how we made it through that period, other than I feel an incredible amount of gratitude that we saw our way to the other side.
Yeah. So for somebody who's listening, who, as we said, has hit a really down point in their life, they've lost their job, their relationship, their health, whatever it is, how do they go about designing their dream life and having that transformation?
I would say that the first thing I would do is develop a very clear sense of your energy flows. And what I mean by this is not like a sort of loose and amorphous idea around energy. It is a very tactical one. Um, you need to understand the types of activities and the types of people who create energy for you, meaning you feel pulled towards them. There's this level of interest, there's this level of excitement during and after the activity or with the person, versus drain energy from your life, the things that you feel
Mhm.
this level of strain and physically feel drained from. The reason that's so important is because your outcomes follow your energy. The things that you feel a natural pull towards end up being the things where you create incredible outcomes. And when you talk about designing your dream life, that is all about achieving these 10, 100, 1000x outcomes that are the things that can truly change your life.
Mm.
But you need to understand what those types of activities are actually going to be in the first place. And so the activity to actually start to assess this in your own life is what I call my energy calendar. And
Oh my
it's,
God, yay.
yeah, so
I love it.
the way that I tactically did this was on a Monday at the end of the day, color code the activities on your calendar according to whether they were energy creating, meaning you felt lifted up by them, you were energized during or after, mark it green. If it was neutral, mark it yellow. And if it was energy draining, meaning you actually felt physically drained by it, mark it red. Do that for a week. At the end of the week, you will have a very clear visual perspective on the types of activities that created energy for you, lifted you up, versus drained energy from your life. What that allows you to do now is start to think about that life design of here are the types of activities I need to be leaning into more versus the types of activities I need to be leaning away from. If you're working a 9 to 5 job, the classic pushback is, I don't have control over this. I can't change these things. I would encourage you to ask Dr. Daniel's question. Is that 100% true? Because I did this for the first time when I was working an 80 to 100 hour a week finance job where I felt I had zero control. But there were subtle shifts that I could make that made my calendar more energy creating than energy draining. As an example, I noticed that phone calls and Zoom meetings were extremely energy draining for me. I mean, I felt physically terrible after a day where there was a block of those. But what I knew was that a walking call, taking that same phone call while outside walking, was energy creating for me because I was more present. I like being outside. I like moving. It impacts my mood. So I took half my phone calls and turned them into walking calls. And the impact on my life was dramatic. Not to mention how I felt, but also the outcomes on those calls because I was showing up much more present. I was much more helpful to whoever it was that I was engaging with. So it was this example of a subtle shift that I didn't think was possible because I didn't feel in control, where it actually was, and it impacted my energy flow on an entire week. That starts to lead to better outcomes. That compounds over a long period of time and starts to create the change that you're looking for.
I mean, it's an emotional diet because when I wrote my diet and fitness book, which I didn't even want to call it a diet and fitness book because it wasn't a real diet, but there's no other way to categorize it back then. It was about writing everything you ate down for a week, identify your issue, and then make slow swaps and slow changes and adjustments. So you swapped the in office Zoom call to a walking, FaceTime. You made those swaps and you identified your issue in your diet. I love that. Okay, so now we've identified the drains and knowing that our energy is going to dictate our outcome, which I also love because I feel like if we also paid attention to our energy levels instead of thinking it's because of, the obvious, right? Like I have Hashimoto's, I have a brain tumor, whatever, all these things that by definition will give you fatigue. Maybe it's other things. Maybe it's people in your life every day you're interacting that are energy vampires that are draining you, whether they want to or not. Um, if you can start taking stock of that, then you can make decisions accordingly. So now we know where our drains are, and we know what gives us energy. Where do we go from here?
The next layer to this is to develop a real strategy around concentrating your attention into those energy creators in your life. And why I say attention is because that is really the precious resource for you. You only have so much attention. And if you are operating in a normal world, the way that that attention is distributed looks like a pie that is sliced up into 100 tiny, tiny little slices. When you look at the highest performers in the world, the people who have truly built their dream in whatever context, their pie would look like two or three things with an enormous chunk. And basically everything else is zeroed out. They don't have those tiny little slivers that most of us have. That means they are taking their attention and deploying a huge chunk of it into the two or three things that really matter, that really move the needle in their life. The most classic example of this, if you think about it as an analogy, is Lionel Messi, the famous soccer player. He is known for like walking around the field the entire game. And he gets called lazy. People, commentators talk about it. They bemoan it. People are like, why is he always walking? He doesn't run in the way that everyone else does. That's his strategy. When he is walking, he is A, conserving energy. B, he's creating a map of the entire field in his mind. So then, in the right moment, at the perfectly correct angle and vector, he sprints with full 100% intensity to get the ball and score.
He's like a
We
cheetah.
all exactly. Yeah, it is, it is very much like a cheetah or like a lion. It's rest, it is sprint, it is eat, it is sleep. And we all need to learn to operate more in that mold where we're deploying our attention into those two or three things that are truly energy creators, that are really going to move the needle. The way you do that is sort of the inverse, which is saying no to everything that isn't one of those things. Again, most of us are terrible at saying no to things because we have been told our entire lives that saying no means you're lazy. Or you have been told that
Hmm.
saying yes means you're productive and you're impressive and you're good. And you have gotten patted on the back your whole life for saying yes to everything. And that is personal opportunities and professional. As you start getting later in your life, beyond the early years of your career, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, you are going to be rewarded for saying no more often because saying no to things is what allows you to say yes to the things that truly matter.
Yeah.
The question I started asking myself around this was, what am I saying no to by saying yes to this new thing? And that was such an empowering and important question
Oh,
for me
wow.
because it reminds you that every single time you say yes to something new, you are saying no to something else. And for me, the thing I say no to, if I say yes to anything new, is my wife and son. And now, when a new opportunity comes along, I have a very clear picture in my mind of my wife and son sitting here on my phone screen. And I think, okay, there's this new opportunity. It's going to pay me this. I'm going to travel and have to do this. I'm saying no to time with my son and wife. So if it is an attractive and interesting and energy creating enough opportunity to say no to them, then maybe I'll take it on. But otherwise, it's easy for me to just say, absolutely not. I'm not taking on this thing because I know what I'm saying no to by saying yes to this thing.
That's great. I think for the average person who's not a freelancer kind of person like we are, it's really hard though, because, but to give them a little context, you would be saying no to the people who are asking you for things like, can you come babysit my kid this afternoon? Can you come to my event? Can you do this? It's all the can you do's that you have to decipher. Are these worthy of me missing out on the things I really want to be doing?
Absolutely.
I've been
And
kind
it
of
is,
coaching my best friend through this recently because she has a hard time saying no and she ends up drowning. And, you have to make, decisions a little bit more carefully. You have to take a second and think, you know what? Let me get back to you. I would love to. Let me get back to you. Sit with it. Does this, as you said, are you in resonance with this? Does it give you energy? Are you willing to do it and take away from whatever you have to take away from? Um, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. We've all been taught to be nice. Um, but when you're nice to everyone, sometimes you are unkind to yourself. And that transition is a really important one because uh, a lot of people will like you if you are nice, if you are easy, you say yes to everything, you let things slide, you don't create boundaries. But your real people will love you when you do the opposite. When you set boundaries, when you say no to things that you can't take on, when you are kind to yourself. And that transition is an important one because we do, as you said, have a tendency to, in our personal lives, fill every second of our kind of off work hours with saying yes to things that we end up not really wanting to do. I mean, how many times have you had a situation where you get invited to something that's a month from now, you say yes, and then it's the day before the event, and you say, damn, I should not have said, I do not want to go to this thing, but I committed to
Mhm.
it, so I have to. That is actually a psychological phenomenon. It's called the yes damn effect. It's actually a known thing that we have a very bad ability to understand that our future time is going to be just as busy as our present time. So we say
Wait,
yes to
what?
things.
Hold
Yeah,
on. Say all of that again slowly. I need to hear
yeah.
this. I never heard this before.
So there is a psychological phenomenon called the yes damn effect. that was identified recently, and it is the idea that humans have a very bad time understanding future time. So we have a tendency to think that we are going to have more time in the future than we have now, which means that we say yes to things under the assumption that we are going to have more time for them in the future, which we do not.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah.
you
Because
literally
you
say
think in the
yes and
moment,
then
you're like, I
damn.
don't have time now, but I'll have time then.
Yeah, you always think
Okay.
you're going to have more time in the future. And so the test that I have that I talk about in the book is this idea of the right now test to say, would I do this thing right now? If this were tonight, would I want to go to this thing? If the answer is yes, then say yes to it. But if the answer is no, say no to it because you're not going to want to do it in the future.
Wow. Well, I know what I'm going to say yes to right now, and that's to talk about our friends at Macy's. Friends, Valentine's Day is around the corner and love is in the air. If you're like me, you want to make your loved ones feel extra special, Macy's has you covered with their handpicked gift guide, whether you're shopping for your partner, your best friend, or even yourself, because self-love is a thing. Macy's has something for everyone. Think Carolina Herrera's Good Girl Liquid Blush for that romantic touch, cozy Ugg slippers for staying comfy, or Joe Malone diffuser to set the mood. If you want to go big, you could surprise them with a Breville espresso machine. Kev already has one, so I can't get him that. Some headphones from Beats or even some Sonos speakers. If jewelry is their love language, a Pandora bracelet is always a thoughtful choice. Skip the guesswork this year. Macy's already has it all done for you. Head over to Macy's.com/gift guide. Find the perfect gift for everyone on your list. Don't wait. Valentine's Day will be here before you know it. Um, so I love everything we're talking about. What about the person who's stuck in that 9 to 5 job that they hate, but it is tough out there? Inflation is so hard to survive through. How do they design their dream life in this moment?
If you want to create a change, the fastest way to do that is to actually create structure to your day that will enable that change. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people who will say that here are their priorities. They want to create a shift. They want to, eventually leave their 9 to 5. They want to build a new life on the other side of that. Um, but then you look at their calendar and there is nothing to reflect that. There is nothing that actually shows that they are putting energy or attention towards that change. You have to actually prioritize those things in your actions. There are kind of two types of priorities in life. There are the priorities we say we have, and then there are the priorities our actions show we have. And for most of us, and me at many times in my life, there was a gap between those two. I would have said I was prioritizing a whole lot of things, but then if you had actually watched me for a week, if you had observed me or looked at my calendar, those priorities would not have been borne out by the things I'm doing. So if you are in that situation where you are trying to create a change or working in a 9 to 5 that you don't like and you want to start figuring out what is on the other side, can I build a different life? Can I make a change? You have to find a way to carve out, as a starting point, 30 minutes a day to start building that next version of your life, to start gathering information and creating evidence of your ability to build a different life. The reason information and evidence, I highlight those as so important, is because fundamentally, the reason these leaps of faith in life feel so scary is because of information and evidence asymmetries. You have tons of information and evidence of your ability to live where you currently stand. You know exactly what you have to do every day. You know that you can pay your basic bills and you have shelter and food. The other side is the life that you were trying to build. That is your dream life. And in between, there's this enormous chasm and this huge drop into nothingness below you. That feels like this enormous leap to get to the other side because you have no information or evidence of your ability to live over there. You close that gap
We're
by
going to
gathering in.
Mars.
Yeah, no, seriously, it feels like another
Yeah.
planet. And you close that gap to make it feel less scary by gathering information and creating evidence. Gathering information means actually understand what it is to be on the other side. What is the job? What are paths people could follow? Go talk to people, go research these different things, have conversations, explore different opportunities that might be more energy creating for you. That's gathering information. Creating evidence is figuring out how to generate little bits of micro evidence that prove that you could earn money and actually build a life doing that other thing. That could be build a landing page and start to get some traffic to it. It could be making your first, craft project that maybe you can sell a few units of to show that you could make a little bit of money doing the thing. It's generating that tiny little proof point that starts to build momentum, mentally and literally, that you can actually do that thing. As you do that, that gap will start to feel smaller and smaller. And that leap of faith will start to feel a little bit less leapy and a little bit more like stepping over something to get to the other side.
Wow. I love how you describe that because I think the visuals make so much sense and it makes you feel kind of understood, right? Because I've never heard somebody say, you know, that there's that gap and that there's that kind of black hole. Um, so if you're going to create this new life, design this new life, I know we kind of touched on in the first episode that the physical might be the easiest entry point. Do you still agree that that might be the first thing to show a discipline, a control, a result fast, and then you can keep building from there? Because I feel like the other stuff we talked about today, with the understanding where you're getting energy, like that would probably kind of straddle your physical and mental as well, right?
Mhm.
And then you would go into time and social and financial.
Mhm. Physical wealth is the fastest way to rewire your brain to remind yourself that you are a winner. And uh,
And that you're strong.
And that exactly that you are capable of literally anything. And a lot of feeling lost, a lot of feeling stuck is a manifestation of the opposite of that. You do not feel like you are capable of taking that action and creating that outcome. And I've said this before, and it is a hill that I will die on, that there is no such thing as a loser who wakes up at 5 a.m. and works out. And the reason I say that is because it is so hard to do. It is a
Mhm.
very challenging thing that you can convince yourself to do it. You are rewiring your brain to remind yourself that you are capable of literally anything. If I can do this hard thing every single day that I don't want to do, I can go and accomplish anything. If you do that for 30 days, you will wake up a completely different human. The way you interact with everything in the world around you. You will go take on a new task, and rather than viewing it as this mountain that I can't possibly climb, you'll remind yourself, I'm the type of person that just woke up early when I didn't want to. I did that hard workout. I did that thing. I ate that plain meal. Whatever it was, I did that. I did that. No one did that for me. Jeff Bezos can't do that any faster than I can do that. He might have a lot more money than me, but we both have to actually earn that thing. We do that thing. And that reminder changes your life. And so I really do, I do believe exactly what you said at the beginning of the first episode, which is um, so much is an outflow from that health bucket, from physical wealth, from the ability to take a few simple, controllable actions. And I say simple, controllable actions because this is important. We live in a world where physical wealth, your health, you are being bombarded by information that is so complex and so crazy about what it means to be healthy constantly on social media. You open your phone and there's some new workout that if you're not doing this workout, you can't be healthy. There's some new eating regimen where it's the only way to eat. Otherwise, you're going to die, in the next 5 years. There's always some new protocol, some new thing. And the problem is, if you are just starting out, those things will convince you that that is what it means to be healthy, that I have to do this extraordinarily complex and expensive thing in order to be a healthy human. That could not be further from the truth. That stuff may get clicks on social media, it may get shared, it may get a whole bunch of likes. The reality, though, is that the boring basics across these three pillars of movement, nutrition, and recovery are totally free and do not take a whole lot of time for you to get ahead of 80, 90% of the population. Really, all it comes down to, frankly, are executing three things for kind of level one of this. Movement, just move your body for 30 minutes a day. I don't care if it's walking, jogging, hiking, biking, rowing, dancing, whatever you like doing, just move your body for 30 minutes a day. Nutrition, eat whole unprocessed foods at 80% of your meals. That's 17 out of 21 meals during the week. Very, very basic. Don't need to overcomplicate that. And then recovery, try to sleep 7 hours a night. If you can get 7 hours a night and you can eat at 80% of your meals whole unprocessed foods and you can move for 30 minutes a day, that is level one of this like physical wealth video game. And that will get you 80 to 90% of the benefit in that realm without any of the fancy, expensive protocols that people are trying to sell you on social media.
What about social? I think that social is, I know for me, was always the thing that was left last because you just didn't have anything left to give. How
Yeah.
important is social wealth?
There is clear scientific evidence that the people you surround yourself with determine your outcomes. The Pygmalion effect is the name for this behavioral phenomenon where they found that we actually rise to the level of the expectations that others have for us. So if you surround yourself with people who believe that you are capable of more, who encourage you to think bigger, who push you to think bigger, you will actually rise to the level of those expectations. So we need to choose so wisely about the people that we have in that circle because they literally create the outcomes that we are trying to achieve. And furthermore, we also know scientifically that our health and our aging is determined by the strength of our relationships. The Harvard study of adult development is this amazing study done over the course of 85 plus years. They followed the lives of 1,300 original participants and another 700 descendants. They found that the single greatest predictor of physical health at age 80 was relationship satisfaction at age 50. It wasn't cholesterol, blood pressure, smoking, or drinking habits. It was literally how you felt about your relationships that determined how you fared in old age. So, investing in that is an investment that will compound better than any financial investment. But that is a mindset shift that we all need to have. We know when it comes to our money, when it comes to our finances, that investing a little bit today is a better thing than investing nothing because it will compound and stack up over the long term. The exact same principle applies to your relationships. Investing a tiny bit today is going to build and compound. And that doesn't have to be some dramatic thing. It can be as simple as sending someone a text saying, I thought about you today, just wanted to say hi. It can be getting the one coffee that you weren't going to do. It could be planning the trip with the old friends you weren't going to see, making that one extra visit to see your parents. It doesn't have to be these dramatic move 3,000 miles across the country to live closer to your family that we underwent. It can be as simple as that one tiny thing that you weren't going to do that you do. And it starts to build and stack in that positive direction.
What do you do when you're scared to take this leap, to
Ooh.
actually dream, to actually, go for it?
I have always found in life that it is almost impossible to plan the perfect course. Um, we all are told as we get older and as we're in school and as we're in our early career years that planning is the most important thing. That we have to plan a 5 year plan, 10-year plan, 15-year plan, this perfect course for our lives. And what I've learned over and over again is that preparation always beats planning. Planning is based on the expectation of order. Planning is based on the idea that the seas are going to remain perfectly calm and that you're going to be able to plan from here to where you're trying to go. Preparation is based on the expectation of chaos. It is based on the expectation that there are going to be storms and chaos that inevitably arise, but you are going to be prepared to adapt and to navigate those seas that come. That you are going to start moving, you are going to be prepared for that journey. You know what I think of an explorer as they set out on a journey. They're not trusting in their ability to plan the perfect course and that the seas are going to remain calm. They are trusting in their ability to adapt when the storms inevitably arise. You are that explorer, and life is your journey that you are on. And you need to trust in your preparation and what you actually have done in your own internal world to be prepared for those storms, that you are going to be able to walk into the abyss and come out on the other side. That as long as you focus on direction and you don't focus on speed, that you can continue to walk down that right path. And so that has always been where I have centered myself. My parents gave me this compass a few years ago that had an inscription on it that just said, "So you may always know where your true north lies." And that message has stuck with me and resonated because it's a message that life is about direction, not speed. It's much better to climb slowly up the right mountain than to climb fast up the wrong one.
I love that. I think that requires patience, and that's really, really hard. Um, by the way, can you hear this crazy vacuum going on?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. I'm like, at first I thought something horrible was happening in my
Oh no.
house, and then I realized, oh, someone's just vacuuming the hardwood floors upstairs. Um, so now that I got distracted, I think, yeah, patience is a really hard thing. And really understanding where your north is, right? How did you identify what your north was?
I have always really believed that asking these questions, that centering around the things that truly matter to you. And that is what the five types of wealth is about. I mean, it is about the fact that time, people, purpose, and health are basically the four common things that everyone wants. Money is an enabler to some of that, but it is very rarely an end in and of itself. It is sort of a tool, but not the goal. And if you center your life around those four pillars, and money is sort of a piece of that and enabling some of these things, that really is the true north that you are marching towards. The visualization that I like to do to identify this for people is to ask yourself the following question: what does my ideal day look like at age 80? Where am I? What am I doing? How do I feel? Who am I with? What am I thinking about? That visualization, that is your true north. That is the ultimate future that you are trying to create. And so then once you envision that, it is coming back to the present and saying, am I taking actions today in those different areas that will compound to create that desired future? Most people, when you ask them what that desired future looks like, they're surrounded by people they love. They're surrounded by their partner, their kids, grandchildren, friends, whoever it might be. But then you ask what they're doing today, and they're basically chasing money. And they're not investing in the relationships in a way that would be conducive to creating that future. So identifying what that future looks like and then making sure that you are taking the daily actions, that you are designing the daily actions into your life to create the dream life that you are trying to design. That is where your best life ends up coming.
Wow. I didn't know if the what do you want at 80 was going to really resonate with me until you finished, because that seems like such a hard thing because it's hard enough to know what you want now or in the next, hour or whatever. Um, but it really does create that North Star of what you want. It's like when you face death, you know what's really important. And it always, always is your relationships and the people you love. It never is how much money you have in the bank because you can't take it with you. And I know people say that, and it's really hard to understand it until you've been there. That's all that matters. So if you're really looking at what you want at 80, yeah, I see my dad. He just turned 80. We had the biggest toga party for him. He had the best birthday party ever. And he was surrounded by people who loved him and wanted to celebrate him. And we had the best time. And originally I was like, okay, well, I've done everything at this point. I bought him a house. I bought him a car. I've given him trips. He's been on yachts. He's been on private planes. I'm like, what could I do next? And then I realized nothing in that vein is going to be important for him. He wants to celebrate with his friends and his family and have fun. And that's going to be the biggest gift I could give him. So when I look at him, he is surrounded by his friends and his family, and he's happy as can be. He doesn't care what kind of car he drives, doesn't care what money's in the bank. He just wants to have his Greek tsipuro, which is this moonshine drink, and have Greek music on in the kitchen with his granddaughter and us and dance and have fun. So I like that because it creates a rudder for you to know this is where I'm heading, and it helps you prioritize, which is really important, really prioritize the right things in life. And so, Yeah, that's a really, oh my God, you've dropped so many amazing tips here. And guys, you have to read his book. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, among others, have given really great blurbs on your book. I've had a front row seat to Sahil Bloom's unique journey and have seen his genuine commitment to creating a positive impact with his writing and ideas. This book is a powerful call to action to think deeply about what lights you up and a guide for how to build a life of meaning and purpose. I can't think of a more important book for people to read at the beginning of this year as you look down the barrel of 2025, because it goes fast. Every year goes faster and faster as we get older, and we're wasting time when we're not focused and we don't have a rudder and we don't have our direction. And I'm really grateful for this conversation because I needed to have somebody kind of put some of this stuff into words. You really are eloquent with how you kind of get us to visualize it and see it. And I think it's going to be really powerful for the Heal Squad and their healing journey. So thank you.
I'm so appreciative of you. And as a Boston native, I have been a great admirer of your work for many years. So thank you so much. This was a real
Wait,
thrill.
how did I not get the memo on you're a Bostonian? You're a
Yeah,
masshole?
I'm a masshole. My
Oh my
dad,
God.
yeah, I grew up in the suburbs outside Boston. My dad's a professor at Harvard, so my family's all been there.
Ah, that's amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. I'm from Medford.
Yeah, yeah. My wife and my families were all in Weston when I was a kid.
Oh, so you guys are all massholes.
Yeah, I met my wife when she was 14. I was 15. We started dating.
You guys have been together your whole lives.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so we need to have a whole
We'll
next
have a whole
episode
separate, yeah, we'll have a whole separate conversation on that.
on that. Holy moly. Okay. Missed that memo too, but I was so focused on what we were going to talk about today. I think that's so cool. Well, Weston, I remember vividly my guidance counselor in high school, Mr. Howard, lived in Weston. And I remember breaking down on my way home from babysitting for his kids on my birthday on the side of the highway, going home from Weston, Massachusetts. But
Wasn't was Michael Bloomberg from Medford?
yeah, he went to Medford High.
I just met him 2 weeks ago. I gave him a copy of the book and we met and had a conversation. We were talking about Boston and he was like, "Oh, I went to Medford." And so now you're the second person in like a span of 2 weeks. Amazing people coming out of Medford High. So that's very cool.
That's so funny. Oh, well, this was amazing. And however I can be helpful, let me know. And we'll have to have you back for another episode on how a relationship lives that long, because it's very rare.
But yeah, I meant what I said. Thank you so much for your willingness to share those stories. And it is, I mean, it was deeply empowering to us, and we appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad it was helpful. But there are so
Yeah.
many people that inspired me too. That's why it is so great to share. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Sahil. My goodness, I definitely feel like I have a lot to think about after this episode and a life to go design. I guess I never thought about it like that. I have a dream board right over there, but I never thought about where I wanted to be at 80, although I do feel like I have that North Star because it is just family, but and I think I have those priorities pretty much in check. But you know, I'm definitely going to assess the other categories of wealth as well, and I hope you will too. In the meantime, be nice people. Oh, in the meantime, share this with people that you think are going to want this information. And then be nice people, make good choices, and be present.
Hey guys, healing just got better. I am bringing you my personal Heal Squad to break down the latest health news and share in healthy discussion and disagreements. Here's what's coming up this week. Can you give us the breakdown on Ozempic and what does it really do to people?
Why is your goal to lose weight when you have no health? Now you can get it through Weight Watchers, $189 a month.
Wait, guys, if you could see my jaw right now, it's on the floor.
Cold plunging. If you cold on your face first, you can actually much easier go into the cold. No way.
Incandescent bulbs were banned, and now Trump, because of probably RFK, is overturning that, and incandescent bulbs will be back on the shelves. Someone apparently is blaming their Tesla for nosebleeds, debilitating body pains, and hair loss. I'm horrified as a Tesla owner.
No.
Yeah.
If you guys like what you just saw, please hit subscribe for more clips and full episodes. Healing is possible, friends, and it happens here.
Hey, Heal Squad, we have been on quite the journey together, and we're hearing from so many of you just how much this show is helping you heal and get better, and it makes us feel so good. We love, love, love it, and we just ask that you don't keep it to yourself. Spread the message and share the show or your favorite episode with your friends. And if you want to help us even more, you can leave us a 5-star rating and a comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and follow us on Instagram at Heal Squad. You can also DM us anytime because we love connecting with you. And finally, you can also join us on Patreon for our monthly live heal events with world-class healers and ad-free episodes exclusive only to Patreon and our Super Heal Squad for as little as $10 a month. So go to patreon.com/Heal Squad to join. Getting better isn't easy, friends, but as I say all the time, it's a whole lot easier if we can do it together. We love you all so much, and we love doing this thing called life with you.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or mariamenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.